Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the LFG Cast. I am your host, Phantom. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today's episode is going to be about another thing that is near to my heart. I don't want to say it's dear, but it's something that I go through and I live with, and I think it can play a part in gaming and lifting and health and food and your whole life. And it's something I have firsthand experience with a lot, and I wanted to discuss that here with you guys today. This one is going to be different than last week. Last week I kind of had everything written out. This one's off the cuff. This one's kind of just me talking and rambling, and we're going to see how far I can get before I run out of things to say. And that's today's episode. So make sure, if you're not already, to hit the subscribe button for the podcast. It is on Google. Last I checked, it was on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Boxer, I don't know, Anchor, and I think Stitcher or Radio Republic. I'm not entirely sure. If you go to the Anchor page, or if you're listening on Anchor, it will tell you all the other places that you can listen to the podcast. But enough about the shameless plug. So let's talk about today's episode. If you've read the title of today's episode, you know that I'm going to be talking about ADHD. If you do not know what ADHD stands for, it stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactive Disorder. Now, it is common. I don't want to say it's common, but a lot more people my age have ADHD than than other people. I tend to notice. They do say that my generation is the generation of ADHD. And for those of you who don't know my generation, I was born in 1994, which technically means I'm a millennial. I know, I'm a millennial. Don't get mad. I'm caught between the middle of everything. But essentially what ADHD means, at least in terms of my life, is it means I can't really focus on one particular thing for too long. Now, I know what you're going to say, but Phantom, how do you play all them video games for all them hours on your weekends when you're not making content and you're not streaming and you're being lazy? Well, person who sounds remarkably like Goofy, it's weird. It's not that I can't focus on things. It's if something doesn't have my interest, it is ridiculously hard for me to focus on it, right? Ridiculously hard. So, for example, let me give you a real life example. So let's look at school, because this was a big problem for me in school. I had a lot of trouble when I was a kid because of my ADHD. It took me forever to do homework, and it got to the point where when it came to like math, when I was in grade school, we had to request to the teachers that I would only have to do the odd or the even numbered problems in like my workbook for homework, because I couldn't do it. It was a nightmare. I would sit there, and it's not that I didn't know it. It's not that, I didn't understand it. Sometimes I didn't understand it, but most of the times it was just too much for me to process at that age, and I literally just couldn't concentrate on it, and I would cry and I would get upset, and my mom eventually was just like, all right, you just stop. But I keep doing this in my neck. I got like a twinge in my shoulder. It's just driving me insane for weeks. I should probably stretch or do yoga or something. But if I'm intrigued, or if I'm interested, or if it's something that I like, I can focus on it. So let's take video games. Let's take this past Monday, for example. So here in Jersey, it snowed. I didn't go to work because it was snowing really bad and the plows couldn't keep up with it. So I stayed home. And what did I do for pretty much the entire day? I say pretty much because I did work out a little bit, and I did help my mom with some stuff. But for the most part, I played World of Warcraft. And if I had to wager a guess, I'd probably say I played World of Warcraft for a solid, I want to say 4 to 5 hours of just straight World of Warcraft. It might be less. I could be overreacting. But nevertheless, I played it because I was interested, and I was engaged, and there was something that kept me coming back, and it had to do with the game. It was fun. I love World of Warcraft. I love the lore. I love the characters. I love the expansion that I'm playing in, because I finally hit level 60, so now I'm experiencing the Wrath of the Lich King content, which was the reason I started playing WoW. So that's like really exciting for me. And the other thing is it's just fun to me. Right? If it's fun to me, I can do it no problem. Schoolwork. Nobody likes schoolwork unless you're a nerd. Kidding. Schoolwork wasn't fun to me. I didn't care. It wasn't enjoyable to me. It was a chore. Now, I think it also helped that maybe I didn't have the best school life, right? I know the social outcast, the kid made fun of literally by everyone. And if any of you are watching this, yes, I'm throwing shade at you. You guys, like, oh, I literally had no friends in pretty much all up until high school. So I didn't like school in general, and homework was suck. It was like the turd on top of the crap cake that was school. But anyway, so if it was something I liked, I could focus on it. When I started lifting, I liked lifting. I liked how I felt after lifting. I liked how I felt during lifting. I liked physically exhausting my body in that environment so I could focus on it. I wouldn't get bored. Nowadays, I get like antsy and stuff when I'm going to the gym, but once I'm at the gym, it kind of releases all those endorphins and I kind of mellow out. But that's the thing with ADHD. You can't focus. You get real antsy. Sometimes I get agitated, and sometimes I personally get ridiculously overwhelmed in most situations. So if, say, we're in a public place and there's a lot of, like, we're at a social event, right? And there's a lot of people I don't know, I won't get social anxiety, but I become very just kind of closed and very, like, not standoffish, but I keep to myself. And I think personally that has something to do with my ADHD. That could be something entirely different, but I don't see a therapist, so I wouldn't know. But yeah, so enough rambling about what it is. Okay, I'm not done rambling. There's one more thing. One thing I was reading, and I didn't get a chance to fact check this, so please, if I'm wrong with what I'm about to say next, please feel free to tell me in the comments. Just let me know. Just be like, hey, that's not entirely true. This is actually what you were trying to say. And, we can talk about it. And I may stand corrected the entire time. So, one thing I was reading, because me and my friends were having this discussion the other day, we were talking about coffee, and we were talking about Adderall, and we were talking about, what's the other one? Ritalin, I think is the other ADHD medicine. It started with coffee and how people were like, man, I don't know. It was a post and someone was like, I don't know who drinks coffee before bed because if I drink 1 cup, I'm wired. And then another person was like, nah, dude, you can pump me two large cups of coffee and I will go to sleep like a baby. And somebody else commented and they said that a lot of times with people with ADHD like me, they don't get affected by that because of what ADHD does is it reduces, there are 2 chemicals in your brain, right, in your body. There's serotonin, which is the happy drug. Kind of with dopamine. Dopamine and serotonin, I think, are similar. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, please. I want to be as correct as possible in this. And then there's another one, I think it starts with an N, and I can't think of it off the top of my head, and it's driving me insane. But essentially, when you have ADHD, apparently, those 2 chemicals are under the average for a normal person. And so what happens with stimulants or stimuli is it bumps those levels up to baseline average, right? So people with ADHD like me, like when I drink coffee, I don't get jittery, I don't get awake, I don't get, that buzz, that caffeine buzz. I drink it and I'm like, okay. Do I feel more alert? A little bit. I'm not going to entirely lie. Yeah, I feel a little more alert. I feel a little awake when I drink it in the morning, but I'm not like full of energy and raring to go. I end up drinking it just because I like the taste of it, especially with, a little sweetener, a little milk. Ooh, just a little bit. But apparently when stuff like that, it's the same thing with things that interest you. So if a person with ADHD sees something that interests them, it spikes those chemicals to baseline levels, or what is considered baseline in most people. However, when that baseline starts to come down, so you take a normal stimulant or you see something you like, the chemicals will spike and then they'll eventually go back down. When you have ADHD, they end up going back down below average. So essentially your body is constantly looking to get to that baseline again because that's what it's supposed to be at. But chemically, if you have ADHD, without medication, it can't do that. So that's why people are always looking for, like, this thing. They're like, oh, look at this pop figure. And then they're like, oh, shit, look at this. I mean, you can't see it, but I have a WoW gaming mouse. Oh, man, look at this dope PS4 controller that my fiance got me. We're constantly looking for things that excite us and that interest us and that hold our attention, because our bodies are craving that level, that baseline level for serotonin, and again, the other chemical I can't think of. So that's how the conversation got started, and my friend asked me, because I'm the one in the group with ADHD, he goes, what happens when you drink coffee? And I said the same thing I just told you guys. It doesn't affect me. I just drink it because I like how it tastes. I don't need it. I don't need it to stay awake. I have no problem waking up, drinking like a big bottle, like about like, you know, I can drink like 2 of these bottles of water, obviously not the Nestle Splash, but just water in general, and maybe have a little bit of breakfast, and I'm okay, right? So I think it's interesting, because I think this can play a factor if you're a gamer with ADHD, and that was the main point I wanted to talk about today. As a gamer with ADHD, this affects me more than I think. I think this is probably what leads to my procrastination the most. So last week's episode, if you got a chance to listen to it, we talked about procrastination, what it is, how to deal with it, how to tell the difference between it and burnout. I think most of the time I procrastinate, I think it's because of my ADHD. I think it's because of whatever I'm doing at any given time. If for some reason it's not, like, you know, again, spiking those levels, I feel like I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it. And that leads me to procrastinate. This is a big problem with gaming, especially with the influx of open world games. Now, I know what you're going to say. Well, if you don't like it, just don't do it. And yeah, right. I go do something else. I go watch YouTube videos. You know, I go watch Obese to Beast, or I go watch Netflix, or I go listen to music, or I go and write out something that I'm thinking of, or I go write new Destiny lore, which, by the way, more is coming. I have to type up the next part, but I digress. But the problem is that sometimes I want to do something, and sometimes I have to force myself, because sometimes I could have like 5 options, right? So let's say I have to record a podcast. Let's say I have to make a thumbnail for YouTube, and let's say I'm playing Far Cry 4, because that's what I was playing before I uninstalled it for Call of Duty Modern Warfare. I will sit there, and I will know that part of me wants to do these things, and I should do some of them, but I will literally not want to do any of them. And this happens a lot with gaming, and it's happened to me a lot in the past. There was a time where I had like 4 games, and I mean, listen, let me see if I can find the page. I have a backlog in here of all the games I have to play, right? So just hold this up. I don't know if you could see this. I don't know if I can get it to focus. We'll try and get it to focus. Can you focus? Oh, so close. Okay, so this is my backlog list, right? This is my backlog list. This has happened to me multiple times in my life, whether it was PS3, whether it's oh my god, my DS games have been piling up for like 5 years. Shit. I'm still trying to finish Pokemon Platinum. But all of this will be me sitting here, and I'll start playing, you know, Far Cry 4. I get bored. Whatever my initial enjoyment of it in that moment, I get bored. So then I'm like, oh, let me play something else, because I want to play video games. Like my body genuinely wants that. My mind wants that. My soul and my heart wants that. And I'll be like, well, let me play something else. And I'll open my catalog, right? I'll open this big binder behind me with all my games. I'll open it up. I'll look through it, and I won't want to play any of it, even though I have to. Not that I have to, but I want to, because I want to get through this backlog so I can play new games. So the big problem I find nowadays is with big open world games, when you have ADHD and you're in a game that literally lets you do any and everything, you could end up not wanting to do anything. And that happened to me with The Witcher. That happened to me a lot with The Witcher because I had monster contracts, I had side quests, I had collectibles, I had, you know, the stone runes to get more sign power. I didn't want to do any of it. When I was playing through Infamous Second Son, 100%ing the game was a chore. And I don't think it was a chore because it was a bad game, because it wasn't. I love Infamous. But I think it's because of my ADHD. And I think this could be a problem with gamers. If you're going through this, please let me know. Like, let me know in the comments or somewhere. Let's talk about this. I wanna know if other people are going through what I'm going through, because it's a problem for me. I don't know if there's a fix. I mean, yes, some people take medication like Adderall or Ritalin. I don't, because when I was a kid and we tried it, it made it worse, which is possible. Going back to that post I was telling you about that me and my friends were reading, they said that's why there's kids or people without ADHD that take Adderall, right, to focus or to get hyper zoned in. It could have negative effects on them because it's not meant to super spike all those chemicals. It's meant to bring them to baseline so you can focus, but it doesn't do that. So overexposure to it can have negative side effects. I thought that was interesting. So if you have ADHD and you're in the same problem I'm in a lot of the times, maybe if you haven't yet, go talk to your doctor. See if Adderall is something that you could try and see if it helps. Otherwise, what I typically do when I get into that state, like I said with the games specifically, I will go and do something else. And sometimes I do get mad at myself and I beat myself up a little, and I know I shouldn't, but sometimes I'll get mad because I'm like, I really wanted to play a game and now it's going to take me longer to beat these games. And then I just have to remind myself, I did it again. Oh, it feels so good though. I remind myself that it's okay. You don't have to get all the pinnacle weapons in Destiny 2 right now. You don't have to get every outpost in Far Cry. You can take a break. Go watch YouTube. Go get a snack. Go drink some water. Just relax and maybe shut your mind off for a little bit. Because, like I said, I get overstimulated. So when I go into that map and I see, like, in Far Cry 4, you know, the map's like this wide and you got bell tower, animal hunting, 50 side quests to get money. Liberate outpost. When you see all that, it can become a lot, and it makes me want to turn the game off just because it's so much for me to try and process, and with my ADHD it's hard. So I think that's about it. I just wanted to share my experiences with ADHD, and I wanted to know what you think. I wanted to know how, if you have ADHD, how does it affect you in your life, whether it's gaming or whether it's something else. Do you take Adderall? Do you take Ritalin? Are you like me and you don't take anything? I'd love to talk to more people like this because I don't have a lot of friends that have ADHD. And before I end, another quick thing that happens because of my ADHD is I forget a lot of things. And it's not because I have a bad memory. It's because I'm trying to remember a lot of things, like things I want to do, things I'm supposed to do, things I'd like to see. Like, I'm trying to remember all these things that they just start kind of getting pushed out and funneled and just dropped off somewhere. So with all that, if you guys have ever dealt with ADHD, or you know or live with someone who has ADHD, let me know down in the comments on YouTube, or let me know somewhere on the internet what you guys think and what you guys do to not deal, but like how you guys handle all of it, whether you or someone you know is going through this. Is there something that you say to them that kind of helps them dial in? Is there something you particularly do? Like, is there a ritual where it's like, oh, I just go off for 5 minutes, I read a book, and then I come back and I can do what I wanted to do and not have to worry about it? I'd love to hear all that, so please let me know. If you guys did like today's episode, please, as I said earlier, click the subscribe button anywhere you're listening to on the podcast. If it is on Apple Podcasts, I don't know if it is yet, but if it is, please give it a 5-star rating because it'll help more people see it if you enjoyed it. If not, I totally understand. If you're listening on YouTube, please go ahead, and you haven't checked out episode 1 yet, check out episode 1 first. I should have put that in the opening of this, but check out episode 1. It was about procrastination, and I think it kind of goes hand in hand with ADHD, again, for me personally. Check out episode 1. If you did like this podcast or this video, please click the like button, and if you do want to see more, again, please subscribe, and let me know what your, not thoughts, but how you deal with this down in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for listening, and if you are on YouTube, and I guess I could put it in my Anchor description too, if you guys want to become part of the LFG network, I will put a link for the Discord down below. Please feel free to click that, come on by. We got a nice little community right now, and we're always looking to expand, and we talk about anything and everything video game, food, and lifting related, workout, health, all that good stuff. So, with that being said, guys, until next time, don't forget to lift, feast, game. I'll talk to you later.